work through these glitches, so we still got time. Let's hope it works, and
We'll make it do what it do.
we make it do what it do. Just like that, sis. What can
Just
we
like
do?
that. Just like that.
This thing has got to go forth. I always be like, when something is about to happen, there's always these glitches, and it's either we get frustrated or we just punch
Push
back.
through.
We
Right.
punch back.
That's right. That's
I, t-
right.
I tell my clients all the time, I'm like, no, you don't roll with the punches, you punch back.
That's right. You don't want me on that page though. Let me keep it down low key.
Oh my God, I'm so happy to have you. I tried my best to try and get some. I don't have any Juneteenth wear, but I got my little
Look at you.
I got my little cultural
I got on my Trust Black Women shirt.
and I love the earrings.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, this is gonna be my first year celebrating Juneteenth, so I'm truly excited for our conversation and to learn and to teach my children. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there who do not know what it is, and it's gonna start celebrating after this, right?
They're gonna start celebrating because some stuff is happening.
Yes, ma'am. And once you know, you can't you can't blame it on not knowing. Once you know, you have the knowledge, you got to do something with that. So I've been excited about this all day. All right, are we ready? RaVonya, do you mind if I pray? Is that okay?
Oh, go ahead.
So for those of you, who are of faith, you can pray, or if not, just give me a minute. I won't take long. Okay, Lord, I just thank you for this afternoon. I thank you for this beautiful woman here on screen with me tonight, dear God. Thank you for her. Yes, dear Lord. Lord, I pray that you bless and continue to bless and guide her and her family, dear God. Lord, I pray, as I always do, for open hearts, open minds, what we'll be discussing today, dear Father. May something that is said touch someone, dear God. May we strike into action. And I see that I have lost my guest, so I have to get her back on. But Lord, we just thank you for everything that you're about to do. Even with our glitches, we know this is going to be great. Amen. And so I'm just waiting to get her back on. Let me see if she's back on. And we're going to bring her back on. And so I love lives because I love the interactions, but there is always some glitches with live, and hopefully Facebook will get better at this because I truly enjoy the interactions from everyone. So I continue to do lives, but sometimes we do have these moments. I'm trying to bring her back on camera. It says can't bring her on camera. What is going on? And everyone is 7 o'clock now. As I'm trying to add you, it's telling me it can't bring you on camera. Approve. Okay, let's see if this brings you back on now.
Okay. I missed the prayer, but I hope it was a good one.
Oh my, I don't know what happened.
That's okay. We're gonna make it do what it do. It could be my internet.
Okay.
Sometimes when I'm on Zoom calls, I don't have the best reception, but I did change it so that it's just on my phone, so that might make it a little bit better.
Yeah, just being on your phone is good. And you're in a different spot now. This is new. This is the first time I'm doing a live where you're like up here in a square and not down there.
Okay, that might be a good sign of some good stuff.
Okay, so are we ready? I hope everyone, can you guys tell me, can you see our guest? Can you see RaVonya? I want to make sure that you guys are seeing her too, because I'm seeing her different on my screen. So if someone who is watching, can you just say that you're seeing her? I would appreciate that. And hearing her, because this is new. Yeah, you're in a little box up here now, not down here, which is fine. Yes. Okay. So you're heard and you're seen. Okay. So I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us about who you are. Yeah, they say yes, they can see you and and what you're doing, and share. I know you have an event coming up, so share all of that. So
okay. Well, first, I just want to say I'm very grateful for you, Cynthia. We need this right now. Just what you're doing is so necessary. So I appreciate you even reaching out to me. I'm just a girl from the hood trying to live my life's purpose. Yes. Like, I'm an educator, a mom, a wife, a sister, an aunt, and I'm just trying to do my job as a good ancestor just for not just my family, but everybody I come in contact with. And so the opportunity of you kind of coming to me and asking me to talk about Juneteenth, I think is very fitting. Even though I don't feel like I know a lot about it, I know a little bit about it, but it's very fitting because I think we're in a special moment right now.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, um, I'm trying to do my best to help myself and help others to understand the journey of just leading us as Black folks to real liberation.
Yes.
And so I would say that's who I am. I don't have a lot of accolades, and I'm not about to talk about my educational background because none of that matters right now, right?
Mm-mm.
Um, we all need to put our hands in, put our
Yes.
feet in, put our
Yes.
whole body
All
in.
of us.
I don't care if you've never picked up a book about Blackness, whatever.
Very
You
true,
know, we
sis.
at this moment right now, we all need to take a piece and be a part
Yes.
of the change that is so necessary, this revolution that we are embarking upon.
Yes.
So I mentioned that I'm an educator. I think that is one of the important identities that I walk in. Um, as a Black woman, that's so important to me to
Yes.
stand before young
Yes.
people. And so one of the things that you mentioned that I'm working on now, that's going to be coming out June 24th. I am hosting a webinar for educators. This webinar is going to allow for teachers who have been protesting, educators who have been posting all on social media, to really start to unpack, what does this work look like in the classroom when you return in the fall, or even if you're on Zoom, whatever type of classroom you're hosting. What does it
Yes.
look
Looks
like
like
to actually demonstrate that Black students' lives matter?
matter.
And
Yes.
so I'm offering 5 sessions starting June 24th, which is a Wednesday. Those sessions, there will be a different topic each week, each Wednesday. And those sessions are going to be some straight to the point, no sugar coated,
Mm.
straight, no chaser. You're going to get the real deal about what it takes to really show our kids that their lives matter.
Matter. Yes.
So yeah, and I guess you could just reach out to me on my social media and we'll post it, I guess, so people can have access to the information.
Yes, and it's on my page, guys. But RaVonya, share your pages as well, so they can make sure they can go on your Facebook, and
Okay.
find it.
Okay, well, you can go to my personal page, which is RaVonya Reese on Facebook. You can also go to BEGR, the number 8RR, which is Be Greater on IG as well. And you can also pull up my event on Eventbrite.
Yes.
Just use BEGR, the number 8RR, Be Greater.
Yeah. So educators out there, and I think, RaVonya, there's a couple of them that parents will be good for. Everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the tickets, it identifies which ones will be good for non-educators. I would say they're all good for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to know just what's happening in the classroom that really speaks to the harm that is being done to kids. And so I'm encouraging educators to come to make sure that they're changing their practices, right, to
Mm-hmm.
attend so that they can change their practices. But also parents need to know what's going on and what you should be expecting of educators.
Right.
So I would say that, if it's something that looks good to you, you should check it
Check
out
it
if you're an
out.
educator or not.
Yeah. So check it out. You need to know what's going on with your children when they're in the classroom. Yes,
Very important.
I've been there, so I know. So anyhow, so thank you, RaVonya. And so tonight we're going to be talking about Juneteenth. And like I said, this is
Mhm.
new to me, and I want to know what it is. I'm going to start celebrating. Tomorrow is the day,
Oh,
everyone.
awesome. Yes, you're going to celebrate. That's great.
Yeah, so this is my introduction into it, like really
Hmm.
new, my foot put into it. So like, give me what you know, what it is, why it's celebrated, what started it all,
Hmm.
and like I read up about it, but I want you to talk about it and just
Okay.
the shockness of the timing of it, and for Texas,
Right.
girl. But I'll let you go into it.
Yes. Yes. So, in 1865, June 19th, 1865, that is when the last group of enslaved people learned of their freedom. And so, as a direct response, and I'm just going to, add my little piece on it. I believe just because of who we are as Black people, their direct response was, that excitement, singing, dancing right in the streets because they were excited,
Mm-hmm.
about their emancipation. And needless to say, like, they were excited later because they were just finding out in 1865 that they had been free for 2 years,
2 years.
right? Right. This particular group in Galveston, Texas, that was their immediate response, is just the excitement with singing, dancing. And that type of response is what kind of propelled into that following year in 1866.
Mm-hmm.
And so it just became the date of commemorating the emancipation of enslaved people.
Yeah.
And by 1866, it started to pick up in some neighboring states. And over the years, maybe by, I want to say like 1890s, it started to really pick up in larger numbers where you
Yes.
started to have festivals. Um, it started to be used from the 1890s to the early 1900s. It was actually used as a platform for political candidates
Mm.
to come and to talk to the community. It was also used as an opportunity for Black folks to educate
Each
each
other.
other.
Yes.
Um, and then when you think about it, after the enslaved people were freed, they moved into these communities, these freedmen towns. And so this was the place in which they were all there,
Mm-hmm.
hanging out together in unison. And then when you have the celebrations, this is very similar to how we celebrate today,
Yes.
very similar in comparison to how we celebrate holidays. And it wasn't until, I want to say, it was about 1980 or so
Mm-hmm.
that it was actually acknowledged as a
Holiday in
holiday
Texas. Yeah.
in
Yeah. In
Texas,
Texas.
right? Yeah. So you got all these years of celebrating, and it's not really an official holiday. And I hate to jump ahead, but I'll go back. But I have to say, then you see now, even this week, companies acknowledging, saying, we're now going to give you the day off. So for those of you who don't know, look it up, or contact your
Yes.
employers.
Yes.
They're giving the day off. People are receiving full pay, time and a half if you come in to work. And so this was unseen before now, right? So some people didn't even know what Juneteenth was. And now we're in this racial crisis right now. And now there's this response, oh,
Yes.
we'll give you the day off,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, we're going to acknowledge. However, 48 states right now do acknowledge Juneteenth, believe it or not. So, in order for it to actually be celebrated, there needs to be more movement
Yes.
for
Yes.
it to actually be celebrated in the sense that you can get these opportunities with the day off. receiving pay, and things of that nature, because it's not a federal
Holiday,
holiday yet.
right, right. And I see that's
It is not a federal holiday, so states get to pick and choose what they do.
yeah. And I'm glad you made that point that it's not a federal holiday, so you can't get it off and get it paid off, and it's not
Yeah.
all states. There are still some states, and I don't know which states those
Yes.
are. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, there are a few. I don't. I know. I believe Hawaii
Hawaii's
is
one,
one,
yeah.
and it might be one of the Dakotas.
Yeah.
That is one as well. But either way, it's time for us to make that move for it to be a federal holiday. Other things that took place that I think is very important for us to know and understand is that by the 1930s, these events had picked up to hundreds of thousands of people in one space celebrating together, which is a big deal, especially when you look at the fact that these were not acknowledged as, they weren't being acknowledged as federal holidays, but yet and still this was that important to Black folks,
Yes.
right? That important. And there was a little bit of time just before the civil rights movement where it became unpopular because white folks started saying that it was unpatriotic for Black people to celebrate
Their
emancipation from
freedom.
their enslavement. Because they saw it as contrary to July 4th. And so I think that's a very interesting piece, is that you got all this celebrating happening, and then all of a sudden, oh, wait a minute, that's unpatriotic. So we feel some kind of way that you're doing this. And, not to mention you had Black folks during that time still being lynched.
Yes.
And I don't know if you want to talk about what's happening today, that people trying to act like Black folks around here committing suicide.
Yeah.
That is not what's happening. People that don't believe that garbage, that is not what's happening. But anyway, so it started to revive again around the 1960s during the civil rights movement and things like that. And so people started to kind of get back to that acknowledgement, celebrating, having festivals, being intentional about organizing. But I think that one of the most important things that we can hold on to is that these times were not just in Jubilee alone.
Yes.
And it was also called Jubilee Day.
Yes.
As well. But it was a time to educate, because you had this large group of Black people together in one space at one time. And so I would say that is what we need to kind of attach to our pieces that we're moving towards right now.
And I think that's very important, because yes, we can go out there and celebrate, we can eat all the food, but when the day is over, what are we doing with that? What have we taken from that celebration, right? And I agree
Yes.
with you that education happening there when we gather together to have the discussion. Like someone like me, to hear from you, if we go to a gathering, for you to tell me about the history, and then for us to get together and talk about, so what are we going to do moving forward? How do we get this in schools? Because I don't think this is taught in school. This is not in history classes.
Oh no.
So why is it not? It's a part of our American history. It's a part of the history. Why is it not being taught? Why don't our Black boys and girls know that there is this holiday to celebrate emancipation of their ancestors being freed from slavery? And I really want to really back to the very beginning of it. Took 2 years. So
2 years.
the President Lincoln signed the proclamation to say that they are free in 1863. And for some reason, and there's all these stories out there that the person who was supposed to deliver the message got killed.
Something happened, right.
2 years, people. Can you imagine 2 years, these people out there still working on the cotton field, not knowing that they are free men and women, and nobody's telling them. And, some people are saying that they wanted to keep them longer just to get over another season of them being out there on those cotton fields. But it's just so amazing and shocking to me that 2 years
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that when you think about, just this lack of desire for us to have such a thing as freedom,
Mm-hmm.
I think is more likely to lean towards continuing to receive that free labor, right?
Mm-hmm.
That just makes sense. There are different stories, but it just makes sense.
Yes.
Like, because then, of course, afterwards, you have this time, and I don't know if you've ever read the book Slavery by Another Name, but then you have this period where there is this way of figuring out how to then recreate
Mm-hmm.
slavery through other ways.
Mm-hmm.
So there was never this desire for us to be free.
Free.
And so I think, once again, here we go, 2020, and we're still demanding to be free people,
Yeah.
right? Still have to fight for our full humanity, full liberation. That is still, like, today we're talking about 2020. That's still an issue. We're looking in the news and we're seeing just recently 5 people hanging from trees,
Mm-hmm.
and we want to say that this was suicide,
Mm-hmm.
right? Nah, we're still dealing with the same monster,
I,
just put
where,
on a whole new outfit.
and where did those 5 happen in one? Is it the ones in
Well, one, I know one was in
Texas?
Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not
Where
sure
the
about
others?
the other locations, but one was for sure in Texas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so,
Yes.
RaVonya, so, okay, we know what it is now. We know why we're celebrating it, the importance. And I think that's one of the things, like, right now, I feel like we have to catch the wave. We don't want to miss the wave, and we don't want the wave to die down. But as we're here right now, the importance of it today, in this season, what would you say to
Yeah.
that?
I think most importantly for me as a Black woman, what I'm most concerned about for us as Black people is that we understand that we don't even know what our full liberation looks like.
Mm-hmm.
We have no idea. So I just want to make sure that we do not look at this moment as asking for little things. We are demanding it all.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about what it means to be free, those ancestors, they would be very disturbed, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
if we start just listing a few things. We have to imagine, because that's what we have to do. We have not had our full freedom yet,
We
right?
don't
So
know.
we have to imagine what that
Jesus.
looks like,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to ask for it all in those civil situations, and then we have to demand it all in our other platforms, right? So
Yes.
there are those situations where you're sitting at the table having conversations, right? But then we also have to give credit to the other movements that are taking place, because they are necessary.
And so we lost connection. I don't know what's happening today, but we going to keep going. Let me get RaVonya back out of here. Ay, 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 ay. We hit him back, y'all. We hit him back. Let's get her back on here. We hope you guys come on back in the room. Come on back in the room. Ay, ay, ay. I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh,
It's all
Lord.
right. It'll get itself together.
I tell you, when something is supposed to happen, this is me, because as a woman of faith, I truly believe when things are supposed to happen, there's all these things that don't want it to happen, because I've never had so many issues.
I know. I feel you.
And so we
I
just
feel
gotta
you.
let some of these people come back in the room, and we're gonna keep it going.
Okay.
And I don't know, where did you realize that it stopped?
I did, because you looked frozen and I was talking to myself. I was like, Cynthia, what's going on? Do you see me? free. And you were like, yeah, so I
Oh,
figured it out. I figured it out real fast.
too much black power on this line.
It can't handle it. The internet can't handle it.
They're like,
Hey, Courtney.
this is too much black power on this line. But I know I wanted to read this comment and hopefully it's still there
Okay.
because Roger had a comment and Roger said this econom why can't I say that word today?
What is it? Oh, he said something
This
about that.
economic system is
Yes.
the economic system is rooted in
Yes.
white supremacy and has
Supremacy
always relied on the
on
exploitation of black
black
and
bodies.
brown people here and abroad.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
Black
yes,
and brown bodies. Yes.
yes, very true.
The creation of this economic system.
Yeah, so when you
Right.
think about it taking 2 years for Texas, that I don't feel like that's an
Yeah.
accident.
Oh, not at all. I mean, as a white person who own people as property receiving free labor, why would you want to get that
Mhm.
up?
Mhm. And you can't say you
Why?
didn't know because you would have an
Right.
interest in knowing is this proclamation
Yeah.
going to be signed? So you must know.
Hmm. Yeah.
Oh,
Why
yeah.
would they want to give that up? Definitely was not looking forward to that. And clearly that's the reason why you had sharecropping afterwards, that
Yes.
abuse
Yes.
even afterwards when enslaved people are now free and now you're employing them technically but not giving them their rightful fair wages, taking their land, when
Mhm.
they would purchase their own land, taking it, just really, I believe just not something that a person would want to give up. So for
Yeah.
sure, that 2 year gap was a desire to not let go.
To not let them go. And I'm wondering if all of these slave owners had a conversation because I can think back to my history as a Jamaican. I know we're talking about Juneteenth, but even when we were emancipated in 1834, it took 4 more years, right? Because they put us under apprenticeship
Hmm.
for 4 more years. And so you were free, but not really free because you still had to work for, you're the slave owner 4 more years. So it's
Hmm.
that's this thing of not wanting to let go of continuing this labor
Right.
until the very end. And so I know
Hmm.
you were talking about moving forward, and I love that you said we really have to imagine because we don't know what it
We
looks
don't.
like,
We don't.
right?
And you mentioned two things. So this whole not wanting to let go, we're seeing that now in
Mm-hmm.
2020. This still trying to hold on to this everything, not just the country, but every
Everything.
idea that they ever imagined in their minds, and that desire to not allow us to show up as our full selves and to fully express our humanity is
Humanity.
is very
Yes.
threatening to white supremacy. It's
Mm-hmm.
threatening to white supremacy
Mm-hmm.
to have to really grapple with the numbers, the fact
Yes.
that black and brown bodies are outnumbering white bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's some reality to grapple with. And then you also mentioned, I think we were talking a little bit about schooling earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about, I think you mentioned, like, why isn't this being taught? I imagine
Yes.
it might be taught in some, schools that happen to be, predominantly black or all black, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe have black educators, black leadership and administrators. I will hope in those situations that they are teaching things like Juneteenth. If they, are familiar with
Been
it.
moving.
But then
Yes.
when you think about situations outside of that, I couldn't imagine going to a staff of all white teachers and saying, hey, I need all the history teachers to come together. Come on. I need y'all to teach Juneteenth.
Mm-hmm.
Not gonna happen. All the pushback you're gonna receive, like you're not even ready for that smoke.
Yes.
Um, and not to mention that you talked about, the absence of this, but then this it's the absence and erasure of all things black
Black.
that have not been accepted into mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
So like we will accept the stories about Martin Luther King, or we'll
Mm-hmm.
accept these things, but don't get too radical on us, right?
Yes.
We
Yes.
don't need you talking about Malcolm X. We
Malcolm
don't
X.
need you talking about James Baldwin. We
Yes.
don't need you talking about the Black Panthers. People
Yes.
start to get nervous, right?
Yes.
But that's what I mean when I say, like, as black folks, we have to. It is imperative
Mm-hmm.
that we just begin to imagine
Jenny,
what
yes.
full liberation looks like
Mm-hmm.
for us. We got to
Yes.
imagine that, because I get really nervous when we think small and we're thinking we just want this little bit of progress. And we can't be afraid of demanding it all. Like, I want to hear more conversations about reparations. I need to
Yes.
hear more. If
Yes.
if we're ever gonna get it, ever, this is the time to push forward with the agenda. That is
Yes.
so necessary, right? Like, you said that we had the comment from Roger about the economic creation of this
Mm-hmm.
country being on the backs of black and brown
Black.
bodies. Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so we need to talk about reparations then, right? We need to talk about how we're going to pay for that.
For that. Yes. Yes.
This country needs to pay for that. Yes. There should be no question.
I just, when you were talking and like you hear it and you know it and you understand it, but I really feel like we have to sit in that for a moment. That it's been dictated to us what we are allowed to celebrate, what we are allowed to speak of. As you spoke about, we can't talk too much about Malcolm X. We can talk about, Martin Luther King because he wasn't as radical. So all this dictation to us. So when you say we have to imagine it, because it's always been told to us, this is enough, this is too much. So how do we know? That really is for me a moment of reflection. Even though I know it, just to hear
Mm-hmm.
you say it and to now process it again, it's like, wow, that is true. The dialogue, everything that we can do, how far we can go, how much we can say, even celebrations, like you said, okay, Juneteenth was being celebrated, and all of a sudden there was a pushback on it. Why? Because more people were hearing about it, more people were congregating, more black bodies congregating to celebrate it. Then there was a pushback on it. So every time there's some dictation on what we can do and how we're supposed to do it.
Yeah, and
Wow.
and I don't know if the audience even heard this, but we opened, you said we gotta not push back, but we need to do what? We need to actually fight back, right?
Bye.
We need to fight, because when you think about that, like, I don't even think we can begin to unpack
Wow.
how we have been at a loss
Mm,
by not knowing,
yeah.
by simply not knowing. Like, because once you know, that can't be taken from you, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, right? So even the way that they packaged Martin Luther King to us, it was all pretty in a bow. They didn't
Yes.
give us the radical pieces of him.
Yes.
Like, they
Say
gave
that.
you pieces of the speech that they wanted you to know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they were afraid that if you go back and read the whole thing,
Yes.
you might be
Yes.
wanting full liberation. You just might ask or demand some reparations, right? So all this stuff has been packaged to keep us in a way in which that we can continue to serve white supremacy, because there is no way that we in these few weeks can bring about these radical changes
Yes.
like that, right? And not have black curriculum in every single school by now,
Yes.
right? Like that, just you when you think about it, I'm looking at an article today that talks about all the companies that have now decided that they're gonna let us celebrate Juneteenth. Because the thing is, who's going to take off of work and lose pay?
Okay,
Right?
yes.
So you need it to be acknowledged so you can receive your pay.
Yes.
Right? So you need the companies to come on board. We need it to be a federal holiday for that reason. But then you think about that this type of oppression, sometimes we're just used to it. We're used to it and we don't think we can get more, right?
Yeah.
So now I need people to go into your schools and
Yes.
go and demand that the curriculum be changed. It needs to be changed. We keep producing the same type of people with the same type of mentalities out of the same system that was built to oppress us. When we integrated into white schools, there was no intention for us to learn about who we are so we can feel empowered, so we can feel like we're great, so we can know what we're capable of and know what we can do. That doesn't serve white supremacy, right?
Yes, yes.
So why
Yes.
would they want us to learn about ourselves? Why would they want us to learn about our radical activists who fought for the defunding of the police years ago, decades ago, right? And now we're bringing up those same demands, the same demands that our sister Angela Davis said decades ago.
Yes.
We should have been done this.
So, and I guess to hear that, because I hear this a lot, that a lot of what we are now presenting has been put on the table over and over again. What is going to be different? You know, what is going to be different now? What is going to make the difference?
You know what? I wish I knew, but I'm gonna tell you what I think. I believe we have produced a new group of young people.
That is it. I so agree.
And when you take that group of young folk, they different.
They are.
And I think a good sign that I saw on a meme or a picture from a protest that sums it up. And I'm keep the language clean. Y'all can fill in the blanks. But the young lady, y'all might be familiar with, she was holding up a sign at a protest. And there was a car burning behind her. And her sign said, "We are not our ancestors. We will F you up." And so I think when you take that group of young people that we have produced as a nation, we have produced that. And then you take, we cannot discredit our grassroots organizations that have never sat down. They have been at the table. They've never left the table. They've been passing the torches. And we have groups and organizations that have been asking for these very things. They never stop asking for them. But I think when you combine them and their holistic work of trying to move laws and things like that, and then you got our young people, I think that match together might be something that could bring us forth some things that, like I said, that we've been asking for. And now all of a sudden, people figuring it out. People starting to figure it out.
I truly agree with you. I have conversations with the current generations, and they are, if you want radical, they're radical. And I think that's what we need to make the change. And so I totally agree with you. And we shouldn't stop them. We should encourage them. And, you know, like you said, the resources are there. It's just that now these grassroots organizations, they need us to join. They need, what can you do? You know, that's been a thing I've been saying. Join an organization, whether that's you just donating money if you don't have the time, or if you don't have money and you have time, they need your hands, you know, they need your time. And I saw Roger put in a couple links on reparations, and I think he has another link here. So everyone, please check the links out. Roger has an organization as well that he fights for social justice all across the board, you know, for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
black, brown, you
Mm-hmm.
know, based on gender, everything.
Yeah,
And
the
that's what we need.
LGBT
Yes,
community as
yes,
well.
yes,
Yes.
yes. Because we really have to look at intersectionality when we talk about these things,
Mm-hmm.
because my experiences is different from yours. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're an African American. I'm not. I wasn't born here. And you know, and someone who is gay, bisexual, whatever they identify as a black person, it's different for them. And
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, there has to be voices for them too. And what does
Yes.
that look like for them as
Yes.
well? Right. And
Yes.
so we can't leave anyone behind. And
Yes.
that's what I think it is. When we are fighting, we have to take everyone. We have to, and I
Mm-hmm.
think we're in the season of
Oh, yes.
all the cases. We got to bring
And
up all the cases.
yes, we got to bring it all up. And when you think about it, and I've heard this used in different racial equity workshops, but when we received a handicap ramp, right? It was intended for the handicap, but then
Mm-hmm.
people who might be temporarily injured use it. Some of us
Yes.
who are able bodies walk on that
Yes.
ramp,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you also have moms who might be pushing a stroller on that ramp.
Yes.
And you know, and I have to side with my sister Nicole Hannah Jones when she talks about the 1619 project. Black folks has we have taught this country what it means to be a democracy. And
Mm-hmm.
we have taught this country that through our continual demands for our liberation and our full humanity. And we have not been the only people to benefit from those
From it.
demands.
Yes.
So I appreciate every single person who is saying now Black Lives Matter,
Yes.
participating in this movement, because you're going to get a piece too, right?
Yes.
Because our
Yes.
history shows that these laws that get changed, it starts to be all inclusive, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that for sure, and protests that I've been to, they have been very diverse, very diverse.
Yes.
And
Yes.
once again, I'm just encouraging people, and you mentioned this too, Cynthia. Get your hands in whatever way you can.
Can.
No
Mm-hmm.
act is too small. I think some people might look and say, well, I'm not like you. I'm
Mm-mm.
not going to a protest. I'm not like you. I don't have time to be a part of an organization. But, you know, and maybe you don't have money to donate to an
Mm-hmm.
organization, but reach out to one and ask, what can you do? What
What
if
can you
they just
do?
need you to send some emails? What if
Mm-hmm.
they just need you to make a few calls? I remember being at one protest, and there were people just there serving food. They didn't buy the
Yes.
food, the organization bought the
Station did.
food, but there were
Mm-hmm.
people there just serving, you know, so they didn't have to protest. They were serving food. There's a place and a space for everybody. We need people on the front lines. We need people at the table. There are things that we can actually do within our own communities. Like
Communities.
I'm even asking for parents, like, go to your kids' schools and you need to demand that the curriculum be changed.
Yes.
If you ever gonna get it, it'll be now.
And
Go
RaVonya,
ahead.
I want
Mhm.
you as an educator, because I think sometimes parents do not realize that you have rights. You have rights of what your children are being
Yes.
taught. And I think
Yes.
sometimes if they don't realize that they have rights, they just take it because this is the curriculum. How do you mean I
Yes.
must go there? You
Yes.
have rights, you have a voice, and you need to attend the
Yes.
meetings to hear about what's on the curriculum. What are
Yes.
your children being taught? So when she's saying that to you, it's not a dream. It's not something
It's
that's
real.
made up. It's
And
real.
schools listen to
Yes.
parents.
Mm-hmm.
They listen to parents. So if you can form your groups, and
Yes.
maybe, you know, you everybody can't physically go to the school. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe participate, organize together. You got your few people who go and present the demands, but come together collectively, come up with what you want, and go in there, send those people in that's going to represent and demand that those things
Yes.
be changed. There is power in numbers,
Numbers.
and there is power in your voice.
Voice. Yes.
There is power in your voice, but when you're silent and you don't say anything, guess what? People would say that people enjoyed it, right? That you
Mm-hmm.
enjoyed their oppression of you, right? So if you're not saying anything, then they can use that excuse and say, oh, well, our curriculum is fine. People don't,
Mm-hmm.
we haven't heard anything. No, go in there and demand and say, no, we don't want this curriculum. We
Yes.
want a new curriculum. Even if you don't know exactly what you want, you
Yes.
just know that what you're doing is not working.
Right.
Let
Yes.
us sit at the table and figure out how we gonna make this curriculum look like and represent the population of kids that are being served.
Yes, and I so agree that numbers matter. Us going in a group, right? Your voice
Mm-hmm.
matter, and as you said, you may not even know, and it's good to find someone. There's always an advocate for you. Seek out that person that has the information because you may not have it, but there's someone who's ready to speak on your behalf, right? When you
Yes.
go to sit at that table, seek out that knowledge of a person to represent the group and to speak up. But even if you don't know, you go and you raise your voice, that will
Yes.
start a conversation.
Oh yes. Oh, yes. And I think right now, even though we're coming off this pandemic situation where
Mm-hmm.
school is not even going to be normal in
Mm-hmm.
most situations, excuse me, in the fall, that doesn't mean we can't demand a curriculum change.
Yes,
Don't
yes.
let that deter you. That does not mean you cannot demand a curriculum change. Let's just even go in and say it should be easier because
Mm-hmm.
everything they're doing is going to be on the computer anyway. There's plenty of things that's going on in a community that kids can have access to.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the time to
This is
begin those
it.
conversations for
Yeah, this
sure.
is the time. I keep repeating it. Don't miss it. You cannot miss when the door opens and it's wide open right now. We have to take the opportunity when it's gifted to us. And I believe that this is the time. We see so many things are happening in this wave. We don't want the window and the doors to close on us.
Yes.
Start calling, start emailing,
Mhm.
doing all of those things. Somebody's at the office. There's always an administrator at the
Mhm.
office, and somebody's got to answer your emails, so send those
Yes.
emails. Yes, very important. And not to put you on the spot, what is you mentioned the 1619 project. Someone may think, what is that? Do you have some
Oh,
information on
yeah.
what that
So
is?
I would encourage everybody to pull it up. You can Google it, the
Mm-hmm.
1619 Project. This was a beautifully written piece in the New York Times, solely dedicated to the teaching and learning of the historic 1619 movement of African people to this country. And so I'll just say that. And it just, the way it was written, there's so many connections to today. It was broken down. They show the economic pieces, the political pieces. It is so rich. It is so rich. And for people who might not be interested in reading the whole thing because it's a pretty large piece, but you can find it I believe on the website, they have a PDF um, of the actual articles. You can also find some video versions that kind of break it down a little bit if you Google it. And
Mm-hmm.
then there is a podcast called the 1619 Project as
Okay.
well. And that podcast is beautifully done where it takes pieces of it and kind of goes into more details.
Okay, good. So we'll put that in the comments when we end so people will have all the resources. I thought that was just something to kind of put out there. And so as we are talking about Juneteenth, is it 155 years because we lost two
Right, we lost two.
years? But even just to think of that, it's only been 155 years. That's sad to me. It's only
155 years, and we're still asking and demanding to be seen as humans.
Mm-hmm.
That is important.
But
That is
but that
so important.
but even that, it's only that amount of
Mhm.
time.
Mhm. Right. We're talking about 1619,
Yes.
and then we're talking about 1863, and then we're talking about 2020. Let that marinate, right?
It's all marinating in me. There's been so much. I don't know about everybody else, but so much has just come to light to me, in these recent times. And I just want, we hope that is opening up everybody else's eyes as well, and
Yeah.
what you can do about it, and that you guys are listening to these recommendations.
Yes.
With your black and brown children, do go to those schools,
Yes.
even how they discipline our children.
Oh, you don't want to
That's
talk
a
about
whole,
discipline.
we
That's
have
a
to,
whole
another
nother
topic.
monster. Then we need a whole live just for
For that
that.
one. I'm
We need.
telling you, I've been in there, and it's like, okay, there's hardly any people of color as the teachers for our children. And so parents, because to see, and if there's not someone like me to say, wait a minute, let me talk to the child, because I understand,
Yes. Yeah.
how they behave, get labeled wrong, and your children,
Hmm.
yeah, we've got to have a different
That's
live
a
on
yeah.
talking about
That is
that.
a different. I mean, that's a big monster to deal with in itself.
Yeah.
And I think too, if I could just
Go
for my
ahead.
parents, I really need when I think about that I'm mentioning go in and demand these curriculum changes. I really want to encourage our black and brown parents
Hmm.
to find ways to have these conversations with your kids where you are
Yes.
expanding their knowledge. Don't feel
Yes.
uncomfortable because you may
Yes.
think that you don't know. So you don't know what Juneteenth is? Look it up. Pull your babies
Yes.
in the room. Let's talk about this.
Yes.
And let that be the beginning or continuation of more conversations
Yes.
because one of the things that I was blessed to have, and I give this credit solely to my mother, who my mom had a collage that she handmade. It was huge. It took up almost a full wall in
Hmm.
our living room of just pictures of black people. And
Hmm.
so she taught me black history through this piece of art. And as
Yes.
a small child, by the time I was like 7 or 8, she had me reciting these things to her. And so she took it as her responsibility to supplement that
Yes.
education I was receiving in the
Hmm.
school and felt like I needed to know about my own history and who I
Yes.
am in order to walk with pride and to carry myself
Yes.
a certain way and to know what I was capable of.
Hmm.
And so I just want to hand that back over to our parents
Yes.
to say that, as an educator, I am asking, please,
Yes.
let us shift. And I'm not saying we don't.
Don't.
I'm not
Yes.
saying we
Yes.
don't
Yes.
do it.
Yes.
I'm
Hmm.
just asking if we can do some more
More.
because
Hmm.
I don't want us trusting and believing that it's happening in the school
Yes. Yes.
because it's
Yes.
not. It's not,
Hmm.
especially not in the schools that are out here in the Lake County area.
Yes.
So
Area.
I really
Hmm.
need our parents to really, and let's be honest, there are more books now. And I think
Hmm.
my mom, during that time, she was using the tools that she had,
Had.
you know,
Yes.
but now there are way more books that we can gain access to. And if you're not a book person, there are videos that you can
Videos.
watch and
Hmm.
use. But we got to get back to that point of, really, I want to say, just armoring our kids with this knowledge to try to really prepare them for their own realities
Reality.
because
Hmm.
the schools, they're not going to do that.
Yeah, and I love that point that you made. Whatever capabilities you have in terms of, if you have internet, kids love, make it fun for them. Your younger kids, have them go
Hmm.
look up Juneteenth, because there is for every age something talking
Hmm.
about it to share with them. So it's not just you telling them, it's discovering
Hmm.
it together, right?
Hmm.
And so with this, we all have a responsibility. So I'm glad that you brought that up. With everything, we have rights. but within those rights, we also have our own responsibilities,
Yes.
and we have to fulfill those responsibilities as much as we
Yes.
want our rights to be given to us, to keep our rights, to maintain our
Yes.
rights. That's part of it as well. And it
And we could
starts.
use our Juneteenth celebration starting tomorrow to do it, in solidarity with other,
Mm-hmm.
people who are coming to your celebrations and
Yes.
participating in whatever festivities you have going on. Let's start something, that can be not just something that's within your household, but that can also be exchanged across other households.
And I love that. And share. We're so much on social media. What you do tomorrow,
Mm-hmm.
share it on social media so other people see, so more people can know. Where I suppose most people are gonna know what Juneteenth is now, but
Yes.
keep sharing it, because I went to watch a few videos just to get some knowledge on it, and there's quite a lot of people that's like,
Mm-hmm.
I've just heard about it a year ago or two
Yes.
ago, so I'm like,
Yes.
okay, it's not just me.
Yes. But that's because, Cynthia, one thing that I do need to point out, in 2018, we in this country, we made about almost $7 billion off of July 4th.
Fourth.
Yes. So that money, once again, we talking about that economic piece.
Yeah.
So we're talking about almost $7 billion, and then they predicted, and it ended up happening. I believe in 2019 they fell short. I think they ended up at 6.7, where in 2018 it was 6.9. But I really encourage us to make sure that we keep our money for Juneteenth within
Mm-hmm.
our communities. You
Mm-hmm.
gonna buy some shirts? Buy your shirts from Black
Mm-hmm.
folks. I think my girl Latoya Barnes is on here. I'm gonna plug her. She made my shirt. Trust Black women. And I'm telling you, like, let's be intentional. Let's not
Yes.
give Juneteenth
Yes.
to America.
Yes.
We need to keep some for ourselves. So
Selves.
Juneteenth, if we're gonna start now, we're gonna go in hard on Juneteenth.
Hard.
Let's keep our dollars in the Black community. And let's find where you're gonna buy your food,
Yes.
what everything that you're going to spend, every dollar you're going to spend for Juneteenth, let's make it count for Black folks.
Yeah. And I'll have, mind. It starts with the mind, right? Because our action, we can't act without a mind shift. And Bob Marley, I have to go back, y'all. I'm Jamaican. He said, emancipate yourself from mental slavery.
Yes.
None, nobody but ourselves can free our minds.
Oh,
And
yes.
those words just resonated today as I was thinking about our topic today. It's just like, we've got to, as much as we think our minds are free, we're still held captive by something. And we
Yes.
need to truly free our minds, as you are talking about where our money is being spent.
Mm-hmm.
That's us being captive by easy and quick, and not taking the time to say, I'm going to be purposeful about where my money goes. They don't
Yes.
accept me, but they accept my money. I got to free my mind from that.
Yes.
Not because it's
Yes.
convenient and easy. It
Yes.
doesn't matter. Take the time to process and to make sure the money goes, so we can build our community, so we can build our wealth, so we can
Yes.
have the things that we need, so our voice can have power.
Oh,
Free
yes.
your mind, people.
Yes.
I am just almost drawn to tears by
Yes.
this. Oh,
I feel you, sis. I feel you. We really, that's work. And that's work we got to do. And this creation here, and the way that we internalize things that we don't even recognize, that's harmful to us. We don't even
yes.
know sometimes, what is being done to us and what we might even be doing to ourselves, because we don't know this country without racism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is no United States of America without it. So that means that just as white folks are living it, eating it, smelling it,
Yeah.
breathing it, we are as well. And so we have to begin the work of unpacking that within us. And I'm gonna speak for myself. I am constantly on a journey to unpack that within myself, and to make sure that I am directly talking to RaVonya, to make sure that I am on the path to doing exactly what you said, freeing my mind and getting to what does it look like? Imagine it, and I'm gonna keep saying it.
Yes, I love
What
that.
does it
Imagine
look
it.
like to have our full liberation? What does that look like? What does it feel like? What does it smell like? Right? And I think that as long as we can start to just start thinking about that and start thinking about it and feeling it in our spirits, then we won't ask and demand for too little, and we can
Mm-hmm.
start moving in that direction towards full liberation.
Yeah. Imagination, I love that you say that, right? Because no matter what, this is why the mind is important. They can take your limbs, they can do, even when they lock you up in a prison cell, you have the capability to control this, even though that's the thing they want to take away from you. You have to focus to
Mm-hmm.
maintain this in here, you
Yes.
know? And so having an imagination that goes beyond what we see,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's important. So those words are strong. When you say those, I'm like, wow, the vast things that our mind can think of,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everything that's been invented was from someone's mind,
Mm-hmm.
thinking beyond what they see, thinking
Yes.
beyond what was. So we need to do the same. That's so powerful. And I hope people, when they hear it, they get it and
Mm-hmm.
catch it, you know?
Yes.
And it's not
Yes.
just words.
Mm-hmm.
Martin Luther King, he had this great imagination of
Yes.
seeing things. Even Malcolm
Yes.
X, all these great people, they had imaginations beyond what they saw. And so
Right.
we have to maintain our minds and
Yes.
free it of the things that has it captured, you know.
Yes.
And so for
Yes.
Juneteenth, and I know I'm emotional about this. I'm sorry, you
That's
guys,
okay,
because
sis.
this is just where I am. As RaVonya
Mm-hmm.
says, she's on a journey. This is my journey, and my journey is taking me on many weeping sessions. I'm a crier
That's
by
okay.
nature. I
That's
cry and then I,
okay.
I get up, but it's the weeping for everything, weeping for
Mm-hmm.
everyone that's gone before us and everyone that's still here with us, that's suffering, and that we're just right here, right?
Yes.
And so just wanting it to be a change, right?
Yes.
And
We
so
gotta have it.
yeah, we've got to do it. And so
Yes.
any last words that you want to leave with the people?
I all I can say is that I think for sure people believe that something's different right now,
Mm-hmm.
and hold on to that because it's real. It is so real. I think that it seems surreal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
does not seem like we woke up and whoa, did this just happen?
Yeah.
Right? Are we starting to see cops being fired? Right?
Yes.
Before
Yes.
indictment? What? Are
Yes.
we starting to see all these moving pieces and we're like, what? Are we in the twilight zone?
Mm-hmm.
No,
No.
no, no. Don't you miss it. Try to figure out how you gonna plant your feet in it. And I'm asking everyone to think about what legacy do you want on your name about this 2020 and beyond, however many years, that it takes before the next shift occurs. What do you want said behind your name? And that's what I'm living for. So when
Yes.
somebody tells my story, when my greats, they're going to be able to say, oh, she did this and this and this, and she did that. And no, don't think anything is too small. If it
Yes.
means that you began to work in your household to start talking about what it means to be black or brown,
Mm-hmm.
then that might be your work, right? If you're going to be that
Yes.
parent to pull a group of parents together, that might be
Yes.
your work.
Yes.
If you're going to be the person who may not be able to physically participate in things, but you got some fingers that can do some talking, you can write some good letters or emails, that
Yes.
might be your work. There is a place and space for everybody. And if you ever thought, man, what would I have been during the civil rights movement? What would I have been doing? If you ever thought, when we were enslaved, like how would
Yes.
I have responded? Would I have been one of the rebels to start the rebellion, right? What would I have done? You know, this is your
This is
moment.
it.
This is it right now. So let's start figuring it out and imagining what it can be like and what is your story going to be. What will
Yes.
your story be? And that's what I want to leave with people. Like, we got to
Yes.
build for legacies. We got to leave
Yes.
legacies, and we have to build for this future that could be very bright for people of color.
Yes, and I want to truly echo those sentiments because that's been the conversation in our home. Like if we were alive then, it's like a repeat. We're having a civil rights movement right now,
Right
and
now,
what we are doing is what we probably would have done had we been there. So you can't miss it. Do
don't miss
something.
it.
You want to know when it years go by, even if nobody else know other than you what you did. That I
Yes,
did something.
yes,
You
yes,
know, something.
yes.
And I want to echo your words again
Mm-hmm.
in terms of what you said. Full liberation. I love it. I want to
Full,
leave those with the people.
full,
Demand it and
full
imagine
liberation.
it. You know,
Yes,
those three things: full liberation, demand it,
demanded
and imagine it.
for sure.
We got it. We got it. We got it. And I
Yes,
see
yes,
someone here says, Karna says, build. Yes.
yes. Hi, Karna. Thank you, Cynthia, my sister, for
Thank
having me on.
you.
I so value you. I appreciate what you're doing for us. This is necessary. And I encourage everybody who's watching, keep following my sister here because she's doing great things. And this platform is needed. If we got some young people watching, get us some more young people to see
Yes.
this. They need this, please.
Yes. And thank you, RaVonya. And go check her page out. Go and
Yes.
one, two, you can attend as many classes or, at least one of
Yes.
them. Be a part of that. She's an educator. She's in the system. She know what it is. So it's coming directly from the mouth.
Yeah. No
Parents, you
chaser.
want to be a part of it. Yes. Yes. So thank you, sis.
Thank you. All right. Have a good
Okay.
night.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.